In this video, I'm going to show you how to shade a sphere in order to make it look like a 3D form. Remember, form is the element of art that refers to objects that are three-dimensional. In order to make a sphere, we need to have a dark shadow on one side and have a light highlight on the other side to make it look 3D. How we do this is we can take different types of chalk and shade with the chalk in our fingers to make these different colors. Now you could choose any colors you want for your project, but remember you need at least 5 different spheres in your final project. And they can't be those little ones. If they're very little, they're smaller than about an inch, you're going to need about 10 of them. So make a couple big ones, a couple small ones, and you'll have a very unique solar system. So I'm going to start with this circle in the middle, and I'm going to make it a 3D sphere. Again, what I need to do is have one side in shadow, a little dark, and another side in highlight, which will be a little lighter. Now I can always use black and white for this, but sometimes I like to use other colors to make it a little more interesting. I think for this one I want a blue one. So I'm going to go ahead and shade the entire thing with my chalk blue. Now you want to press kind of hard when you do this because you don't want a bunch of little white specks. But the more you blend it with your finger, the more that these little specks will disappear. Also, remember, do not blow this chalk in your neighbor's eyes. Just keep it on your table until you are ready to clean up. Okay, I shaded the whole base one color of blue. Again, if I'm going to start with my shadow, I can either do black, which is always helpful to make the 3D form a little bit more visible, or I can use a dark blue or a darker color, depending on what color you start with your base. So I'm going to go ahead and shade one side this darker blue. Now as you notice, as I'm shading it, I'm not shading it straight up and down. I'm not making a line in the middle and having it up and down. I'm kind of shading it like a crescent moon, just like the circle itself, this round shape. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the highlight, just on a different side. I think I could always use white, and if I need to, I'll leave it there for now, but I think I'm going to try a little bit of green just to act as a highlight on the other side. All right, doesn't look so much like a 3D circle yet, but that's where our fingers come into blend. I might have a little extra dust around in my spot. Instead of blowing it, I'm just going to tap it and move it back to the table. All right, here comes the blending. I think I'm going to start with the lighter color first because the darker color is a little consuming. So I'm just going to take my 2 fingers and I'm going to shade or rub the whole sphere kind of the same way I applied it. Kind of in a curved line rather than straight up and down. That's kind of important to remember. All right, I shaded the whole highlight. I'm going to go ahead and shade the low light, which is that shadow. Same thing, just the other direction, kind of curving like a circle. Hey, that's looking pretty good already. Now, I can push this illusion of a 3D sphere a little further by adding a little more colors or adding more contrast. Contrast, remember, is how the difference between two things. So having really dark and really light colors really gives a shape or an object more definition, makes it look a little more believable. So see how I added a little bit more dark blue? That pushed that illusion a little further, don't you agree? Gotta watch for fingerprints. You don't want to have a bunch of fingerprints. Unless maybe you're doing a moon. You could be creative like that, but I like to rub away my fingerprints. All right, I think my low light looks a little bit more believable. I think I'm just going to push my highlight a little bit more. Maybe I could use a yellow or a white. I'm gonna start with white just to see what happens. Shading that lighter side, just with a little bit of white. Now my fingers are a little dirty. I could clean them off on my table or on a paint shirt. I'm just gonna go ahead and just rub that once they're a little cleaner. And you can see that that illusion's pushed a little further yet. So be creative with your colors, adding a little bit of color here and there, as long as it's they're near each other on the color wheel, really can push your illusion a little further than just doing a couple colors. Again, you need at least 5 of these spheres for your final project. They can be any colors, any sizes, as long as they're not too small. But you can be very creative with this project. All right, that's how you shade a sphere.